This is Show Jumping 101 with Megan Vanoski with MV Equestrian Ocala.
Louisa Barton here for the CEP's Equine Initiative and the Horse Talk Show, and I am chatting to Megan from MV Equestrian Ocala. And we're going to talk a little bit about something we touched on in the first segment when we talked about you, kind of an intro. We mentioned the foundation part of getting a horse started, and you made some really good points about whether you're that trail pony or you're jumping that, over a meter and you're in the kind of top echelon of the sport, if you don't have that foundation training. And I'm going to mention somebody I know personally just because I'm sure there are others who do it, but I've been at Aaron Vale's farm with him, yes, and I have watched them doing all that basics.
Yes.
I've watched his guy there do all the startup stuff. And what I've noticed in show jumping is when it's a very technical course, and some of the show jumpers look like they're having issues, and the horse is having issues with some of those difficult courses, Aaron Vale's horses just kind of take it in their stride. And I put that back to that.
Yes.
How did you get them started? Or even if they were already started when you got them, what did you do to make that horse comfortable when things don't go exactly like it's planned? And let's face it, as you mentioned in that first segment, whether you're on the trail or you're in the show ring, anything can happen.
Yep.
Anything can happen. We maybe walk the course and the course is not what we thought it was going to be like, or maybe it was a course builder who was very techie and it was different than what we thought. We get on the trail and something happens. Wild pigs run out. Yeah. A deer jumps the trail in front of you. An airplane or helicopter goes overhead. Yep. These are things that can happen and we don't have a plan. So show jumping 101 is no different for a foundation, right, Megan, than anything
Correct.
else.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you kind of take it from there and just kind of give us a rundown of whether you're getting a completely green horse that's never been started, or you're getting a horse that somebody's having a problem with, or you're getting a horse in consign to sell for somebody, or you're just getting a horse that you just want to maybe get ready for a student. You're going to be consistent in whatever you do.
Yes. Yeah, and actually shout out to Pete because when I moved here and I was starting to kind of get into the horse world and really starting to build my foundation and my business, and I stumbled across one of his videos, and it was his video on, getting the horse to drop their head when you're turning them out and stuff like that. And it really kind of lit a light, like my light bulb kind of went off. And
Dancing Pete Roder, complimentary horsemanship.
Yes, shout out. And it just made me kind of start really sitting back and thinking over all of the years that I've been riding, showing, whatever it was, that was never really something that we did. And that could have just been my personal experience. And as I got into more of the horsemanship show of things, I started realizing that everybody had a beautiful relationship with their horse. I mean, you go out in the paddock, the horses nicker at them and walk up to them. Like, the horses would rather spend time with their human than they would rather spend with the herd. And that spoke huge volumes to me because, again, I come from a show jumping background. None of my horses wanted to, just come and cuddle up and chill. It was always like, oh man, she's coming to work, like, I want to go, I want to run away. And so I really started taking that very seriously, and that is the number one step that I do. So for a green horse, I make sure that no matter how old, how young, some horses get started later than others, I always make sure that our foundation is solid. They're fight or flight animals, so their number one thing to do when something isn't going right is to run away. And I don't necessarily want to completely stop that, but I want to change it to where it almost turns into a curiosity, then, oh my God, it's going to kill me. Or what is my leader doing, who is, me. I would much rather it be that type of relationship than me forcing and being rude and being pushy. I feel like it's like just with kids, we sometimes, kids need to take baby steps, and the baby steps to me are bigger than the big giant leaps that some of us take. I feel like the baby steps is what leads to these big giant steps and these big huge accomplishments that you can make with your young horses. And even with my consignment horses, like the one I have right now, she's a Mustang and she's an amazing trail prospect. Endurance, I mean, this little versatile pony could be anything, but that is one of the only horses that I've ever gotten on consignment since I've started my own business that has a extremely solid foundation. And that's what I strive to have every single one of my horses, that whether it leaves my program coming to be sold, comes in to be trained, that is the number one thing and the number one feedback I strive for is, oh my gosh, my horse is so quiet on the ground. It ground ties. When I turn him out, he turns and faces me now and drops his head and is so much easier to tack up, which makes the ride so much easier. And it translates
maybe he doesn't pick his feet up very well for hoof picking, and maybe you have to work on that.
Yes, exactly. And it leads to such a great foundation in a relationship to where when you start doing the bigger and scarier things, you're going through water jumps, you're jumping, you're getting off property, they kind of resort back to you as their comfort zone, and you as they look to you for guidance instead of going, oh my God, deer in headlights, in their flight reaction kicks in and they want to run away or they want to bolt and they want to rear and do all the things. I don't want our experience off property to be absolutely horrendous. We're allowed to have hiccups, it's okay. I just want effort. That's my biggest thing. As long as there's effort from the student, from the horse, I don't care how anything else goes. I'm never gonna whip a horse into submission. Do I use whips? Absolutely, but I use them more or less as an extension of my arm. I'm 5'2". So I am just short. So that is one thing that I struggle with. And I mean, I currently have a 17 hand horse right now who I struggle to just wrap around and get around. So I do use a whip to kind of extend my arm, but I very rarely touch them with it. I'm huge on tools. Again, I'm 5'2". I think tools are great to an extent. I feel like sometimes tools get overused. And again, going back to groundwork and the foundation, if you have good groundwork, good foundation, you're not going to necessarily need all of these extra tools. You're not going to need to put them in a rig. You're not going to need to slam their head in a frame. If you do proper groundwork and you work on them, they will definitely drop their head for you. They'll carry themselves. They'll lift their carriage. They'll engage their core. They'll engage their hind end. And I feel like that's just like I said in the first segment, that's just such a huge crack in the foundation that I've noticed in the hunter jumper world specifically is, yeah, my horse can jump 1.30 m, but I can barely trot in a circle, or, my horse can't walk off property. He does this little jig the whole time. And it's like, it's kind of cute and funny at first, but, put yourself in the horse's shoes. If you are so stressed and so anxious all the time, that's exhausting. Like, that's just an exhausting thing to feel, and that's the same for them. And then we're asking them to jump and trailer and do all these other crazy things, and these poor athletes they're worn out. And right. And that's a whole, body work is a whole other fundamental thing, is making sure that the athlete is taken care of and comfortable. Our Olympic athletes get massages, acupuncture, all of that. Why can't our horses and our partners get the same, So they definitely get PEMF, massage, the whole nine.
Yeah, so they get the treatment. Most important thing is that foundation, feeling safe. You're their security blanket. You want them to turn to you in a situation that's unexpected, and you need to create that relationship. And Buck Brannaman's talked about it, Chris Cox, Dancing Pete Roeder. So foundation, very, very important. Here with Megan from MV Equestrian Ocala. Louisa Barton for the Horse Talk Show and the CEP's Equine Initiative.